Help support the show by joining the Patreon or becoming a YouTube member. Also, hit that like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content. Well, we're finally at the bye week for the Cleveland Browns, and it's been a journey. I got my guy here from 92.3 The Fan. Also, he's in the background of every Browns game that you listen to. If you're still old school, you listen to the radio call, which I feel like people still do. A lot of people still do the radio call, man. You can hear, you can feel Mac's presence in the background as those audio levels change. But Mac Robinson, appreciate you being on here. Is it just me, or does it feel like we've lived the season in these 8 weeks?
Man, London feels so long ago. Like it's hilarious, man. Like the like you said it perfectly. It's a journey. It's been a journey through the first 8 weeks or so at this point. The bye week, it feels like it's perfectly timed, at least, with the way that the season's kind of gone. And again, it's odd because of the fact that, we had 4 weeks of Flacco, and even Joe Flacco being on this team feels like a lifetime ago. And then, all of a sudden we get another
Pickett?
Kenny Pickett, 2 months ago. We go a month with trading quarterbacks at this point. But Kenny Pickett back during the preseason, you had the Joe Flacco era, I guess we can call it, for a month. And now we've had Dylan Gabriel for the last month too. But again, it feels like its own season in and of itself. And just as the seasons kind of come along. Just so much change and just different dynamics as the seasons kind of come along that, yeah, it's wild that we're at the bye week, and it's wild to say that it's only week 9.
Yeah, it's weird, right? We're watching Snoop Huntley be back as the backup on the Ravens, which I don't understand how the Ravens went through so many hoops to get back to a very logical position that they should have never left in the first place, right? Like, they let Snoop Huntley walk around the league and they brought him back a couple of times within this run just to not make him the backup. And they brought in Cooper Rush, and then they finally made him the backup. And then they won the game versus the Bears. And there's so much weird stuff happening in the North this year. I think Tyler Huntley's part of it. I think, obviously Kenny Pickett, everything the Browns have done at quarterback are a part of it. And it's been frustrating. It feels like 2 seasons in one, right? It feels like the Joe Flacco part was like a whole season. I mean, the amount of outrage around Joe Flacco when he was the starter, like we were all there for it, right? And the amount of people wanted to bench that suddenly all of a sudden, think that he should have got a longer leash, right? That's hilarious to me because it's like, I was like, hey man, maybe we should give him 6 weeks. And people were like, no. You should get fired too if he gets 6 weeks. And I'm like, okay. All right. I guess this is what we are. We think it's all Joe Flacco. I think if we're talking about what we hope from the bye week on, right? Mm-hmm. I think we just want, on a base level, more excitement from the quarterback position. I would think it's fair to characterize it as, right? I think we have seen all hope that we had for Joe Flacco at the beginning of the season kind of slowly be chipped away week by week until he got benched. We're in the middle of watching that process happen with Dylan Gabriel right now. I mean, I think it's inevitable that probably after the Baltimore game, they do the same move here. But you'll want that cycle to stop at some point. Hopefully, Shedeur gets in there. He plays great. And we were talking about Shedeur playing well, but the strength of the cycle was strong.
Yeah.
So I'm not very confident that that's going to happen just because, we've seen this offense devour quarterback after quarterback after quarterback. And you're like, hey, fool me. What's the George Bush quote? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, can't get fooled again, right? It's like, okay. The first time I understand why people thought it was all Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
The second time it happens, you got to ask some questions about hey man, what are we setting this third guy up for? Because it's very possible that it's not going to be meaningfully different unless a generational talent steps in there at quarterback. And we've seen Shador play. He's been impressive at times in training camp and OTAs, but I don't think anybody reasonable has been describing what he's done at practice as generational, right? Like
I would agree with that.
Say that's the case, right? So it's like, unless you're going to get Joe Burrow off the bench here, you know what I mean? Unless you're getting Josh Allen off the bench here, you really got to figure out other ways to have success. What do you like when you watch this team? What's the one thing you wish they could do better, that you think that they can actually do better going forward?
I think it comes to the passing game in terms of spreading the ball out. And especially because it feels like so many times we'll see, trips formation where you have, three receivers all bunched up together. Like you have, Jerry Jeudy, another one of these guys that, again, can have success. We saw it last year. I mean, granted, we don't have the quarterback that's going to force feed him the ball 50 times in a game, but or at least hyper fixate on Jerry Jeudy. But what's up?
I just had a eureka moment.
Okay.
This is the same stuff Raven fans were complaining about with Greg Roman. We're having Greg Roman level complaints right now. Yeah, I remember the year they got rid of Greg Roman. I remember these complaints, right? The stacks, the condensed, everything's tight, nothing. This is what led him to get Todd Monken. This is what led to Todd Monken.
Hey, that's the hopeful stuff that I need. That's the hopeful stuff that I need.
I mean, so maybe
we're right around the corner.
I don't want to get too specific here, but it's like, my hope is that they recognize, we're past the point of patching the problem right now on the offense, right?
Yeah.
I don't really have any serious belief that these are fixable issues given what's going on right now. You can maybe you can dress it up a little bit, right? You can put some lipstick on the pig. You can rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic a little bit, but it's sinking.
Yeah.
My question is, are we going to be playing music in the bow of this ship, or are we getting off on a lifeboat? That is my question, is whatever way that goes out, right? Because maybe there's some way to do this without having to fire Stefanski. I can't imagine it, but maybe there's a way to do it without firing Stefanski. My thing is okay, we see what this offense looks like. We've seen what they've been able to output over the last couple of years. Are we gonna keep playing music like everything's fine? Or are we gonna get off the boat? Because look, I respect it. I respect why they wanted this to work. I wanted this to work. You wanted this to work. Most people in Cleveland wanted this to work because we're tired of firing the coach every year, right? Yep. Or having to change offensive coordinators every year. So I'm not going to sit here and poo on you for the attempt. But, one of the things that I think has come to define the Browns, good or bad, is sometimes they don't have a good read on when to get off of something, right?
Yep.
And that has been something that has driven, I think, the fan base crazy at times. We're going to continue this excellent conversation between me and Mac Robinson in just a second. I'm going to continue my interview with Jared Bailey in just a minute, but real quick, I want to thank my sponsor, Sleeper. All right, so I got my Sleeper picks in this week. Now, the Browns are on a bye week, so because the Browns are on a bye week, we got to do things a little different. I thought what would be fun here is to give Browns fans a full break from NFL football and talk about some picks that we think could hit when it comes to college football. And we're going to do this with quarterbacks that we have talked about potentially being in the 2026 draft class. So for my picks this week after looking at all of the picks available on Sleeper. And by the way, if you want to join the fun, make sure you use the promo code Worst Take when you join Sleeper. Get up to $100 match. Get $100 match on up to $100 when you join Sleeper with that promo code. So first we got Brendan Sorsby, 275 yards. I think he's going to get more than that playing against Utah. It's going to be a late game, 10:15 p.m., but I think he will be able to succeed. From what I hear about Brendan, he has some of the best tools of all the quarterbacks in college football, and he is very, very interesting and exciting to watch. Fernando Mendoza, he is right now my QB1 of this class. They have him at 19.5 rushing yards. I'm going to go up here. Fernando likes to run the ball, and when he does run the ball, he does not slide a ton. He likes to be aggressive. He uses it as something to kind of get his guys motivated, and I think he'll have more than 19 rush yards versus Maryland. Lenore Sellers, they have him at 28.5 rushing yards. I'm going to say more here. South Carolina start to lean more on Lenore Sellers' rushing abilities in their game against Alabama. They actually found some success doing that. I think they'll continue to do that. And then Darian Mensah out of Duke playing Clemson today. Well, not today, but Saturday at noon. I have him over a passing touchdown and a half, so 2 passing touchdowns. He's been lighting it up. He's been a fun guy to watch. But those are our picks, the 2025, 2026 draft. And if you want to join the fun, make sure you join Sleeper. Use the promo code Worst Take.
Yeah. No, and that's one of the things too that, like, as the game progressed on Sunday, I know I had my frustrations in the booth, where it felt like just the predictability is the word that I keep coming back to. And the fact that I know Nathan on our broadcast talked about, just identifying what coverage they were in and just being able to understand the fact that, hey, they're running zone. All right, cool. You know that they're running zone. All right, let's identify as it cover 2, cover 3, cover 4. All right, and then you can go ahead and attack from there. But it feels like, and maybe this is coaching part of it too, where the emphasis with Joe was, hey, don't turn the ball over, and then especially with Dylan, it's, as a rookie, you don't want to turn the ball over. And what was the thing that we kept hearing about every single start? Well, he didn't throw an interception. But the offense still didn't look good. And it's why I constantly and even last week against Miami,
I think Daniel made a great point to me when he was talking about this, because he's like, we're not throwing interceptions, but we're going 3 and out.
Yeah.
And it's basically it's the same result of you're giving the ball back up, and because you're not getting here's the big thing about going 3 and out, right? Because it's you punt, it's not that big of a deal. We see punts all the time. It's the lack of yardage gained that's the problem, because it then puts you in a negative field position situation most of the time when it comes to trying to win the battle. So when you intercept the ball, the reason it's bad is because they get the ball to 50. But if you're not playing good special teams and you're getting no yardage on these drives and you're punting the ball at the 15, guess what? They're getting the ball at the 50. That's been an issue.
And that's where it just comes, for me, it comes down to just execution, where it just feels like so many times they will it almost feels like they don't even push the ball down the field at all, to where that isn't even something that the opposing defense coordinator has to worry about, and including just the shot down to Isaiah Bond down the field, down the left sideline on Sunday. I was surprised that that he was able to throw it down the field, but also he chooses to throw it down the field, but then he also undershoots it or underthrows it, So then the defender has enough time to get back into the play.
And then you make a sandwich, right? Because it's like,
Yep.
okay, we see it late. That's the first problem. He saw it late, right? Why
Yep.
did he see it late? I think it's because everything's condensed, stacked up. You can't really read it that well. It's mushy, it's messy, it's ugly. Tommy Reese has talked about it. He's alluded to it, but like, I'm just gonna say it here. Like, that's part of the problem here, right? And part of that is Dylan's not very tall, but I'm gonna be honest with you, being 6'1" ain't gonna make that much of a difference with what we're talking about here, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, it's gonna make a little bit of a difference. It ain't gonna make that much of a difference. So that's first part. He saw it late. Second problem of that, you mentioned it, right? The ball was underthrown.
Mm-hmm.
Third piece of this problem. Why are we jumping? Like, that's the third piece of this problem. The ball hit your kneecap in the air.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have jumped, right?
Yeah.
You know, just, again, these are rookie mistakes that you would be more tolerant of if it wasn't the entirety of what you've seen the last 2 years, right?
Well,
like, I would be, if they were scoring maybe 20 points a game on average, I don't think this would bug me as much. But now it's to the point where it's like, hey, that's our only opportunity to score points. We can't be making those mistakes. But these are also rookies. Like Isaiah Bond, how mad can I be at that in reality? But it's like, in that moment, I'm furious because it's like, why would you make that mistake? The reason you're making that mistake is because he's an undrafted rookie.
right. And part of it too, like that I keep coming back to is that this is gonna sound way worse when I say it, but like it brings me back to when the Cavs were in the finals against the Warriors in the Kevin Durant time, where it felt like you had to be absolutely so perfect.
Yeah.
And any single minute mistake that you have snowballs in the other direction.
The margin of error is so thin right now with the team where it's like any kind of slight mistake, a penalty, a false start, a loss of 2 yards on a screenplay that gets blown up, and it's done, right?
Yeah.
Everything that you want to do is not good. And here's the part that I'm more disappointed in. We're not even that good ahead of the sticks.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if anybody's noticed this. We're not that good ahead of the sticks. And like that, the Kevin Stefanski offense, you could complain about it in past years, but if they get to 2nd and 5, they're going to get to, 1st and 10. And if they get to from 1st and 10 to another 2nd and 5, they're going to go down the field and have these 70 plays. This is the Jacoby Brissett, right? The Joe Flacco, the stuff that he did with PJ Walker in 2025, where you were like, damn, we got a good one, right? Now we get to 2nd and 5, and we usually end up somehow in 3rd and 9.
And that's what I keep coming back to, especially with predictability, where it's like there'd be so many times where, like you said, okay, we're going to run a screen pass to a wide receiver with Isaiah Bond blocking for him on the outside. We're going to go ahead, and that's going to lose 2 yards. You're going to try to gain that back immediately by running the ball with Quincy Judkins, even though the box is filled. So that's going to be a gain of 2. So you're down. So you're up to, or let's say gain of 3. 3rd and 9 at that point, and then it's because all of the pressure is coming at Dylan. Dylan fires the ball almost immediately to a check down. So then at that point, it's a gain of 3, so it's 4th and 6. Like, and it's where you constantly are setting yourself behind the sticks, and like you said, like trying to extend those drives out, you lose time of possession, and then on top of that, again, like the defense is playing fantastic this year, and I almost hate bringing this stat up now, but it's another game that they didn't allow a 300-yard passer, mainly because by the end of the game, you didn't need to throw the ball, but they still didn't allow a 300-yard passer in this game. Like, it's one of those things where, like, the defense is playing so well, but they can only play so well for so long. Like, it turns into a war of attrition, basically.
Yeah. So if we're getting back to the actual, like, question.
Yeah, I know you started off there talking about what we're hopeful about.
But we get back to the question here. I think what I hope to see by the end of the season, look, I'm not going to be naive here and think that you're going to solve the bulk of these issues during the course of this year. It's just not going to happen, right? But you can make progress, right? When I was in college, I didn't have any money, but I saved up a little bit. Then I had a little bit of money by the time I graduated, right? Not a lot, but just a little bit, right? You can make progress even when you're struggling, right? That's all I'm saying, right? Like you can get better no matter what. So yes, the offense is struggling, and I'm not expecting them to go from here to over the moon, right? Anytime soon. Well, not this year, right? Maybe they make some changes next year. It's going to be just like when they got rid of Joe Woods, right? They're going to have to do a whole reset of what they want to do offensively. But if we stop compounding the stuff like Isaiah Bond jumping at a ball he doesn't need to jump to, right? Like that's the stuff where I'm like, you can fix that. If we can finally put some of these pieces in the right place, I would be happy with that. Hey, look, understand, there are certain solutions that they're going to have to come to at the end of the season that they're just going to have to come to at the end of the season. I don't think this changes what you do necessarily at the end of the season, right? Whether you want to keep Stefanski or not. I'm not saying if these things happen, you keep Stefanski. No, not what I'm saying right now. But you want to see some individual improvement from some guys who, they're not being put in the best position to be successful, but I don't think that they're also doing themselves the most amount of favors when we see them out there, right? I want to see that improvement from Isaiah Bond. I want to see that improvement, from like Harold Faden has had a couple of drops. Seems like he's over that now. Hopefully he continues to be over that now, right? I would love to see Jamari Thrash get more opportunities. He was pretty impressive in camp. Like, I want to see what it looks like when you do get these pieces kind of aligned in more of a regular place when you get Cedric Tillman back, because that has shifted off the balance of the wide receiver room. A lot of plays that you're running right now would probably have a better chance of success with him in there. If we're talking about quarterback position, I don't think I'm going to see over the moon results from anybody. So I'm not going to sit here and expect that. And I'm also not going to dog any of these rookies for not giving me crazy results, whether it's Shador or Dylan, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and trash Shador if he looks bad in his offense, like every other quarterback has looked bad in his offense. I'm pretty much expecting that to be the case. But what we can see is just better pocket presence from Shador, right? Like, if I don't know what it's going to look like once he actually has to make a decision, like it's going to be what it's going to be, right? Because it's just real muddy right now with how they're structuring stuff. But can't he just be better at work on that pocket mechanic stuff, the pocket drifting, right? If you're Dylan Gabriel, you gotta fight through the funk and still get to your second and third progression, right? Like, especially when that's what, I know Mary Kay keeps using the fucking word superpower. Late bleep, I'm sorry. But yeah, to describe it, which blows my mind how we get to that word specifically. But what Dylan is supposed to be good at is his ability to work through those progressions. You want to see him, even in the chaos that is right now, demonstrate that he can still work through those progressions. If you're Shador, what do people think you need to work on is how many sacks you take. That's all I'm like. I want to see some progress on that front, right? Like what the yardage looks like, touchdown, interception ratio. I'm going to be fairly lenient on all of that stuff. I'm going to be honest, right? With Shador, like if he goes out there, he throws 3 interceptions. I'm not going to be like, oh, well, he's trash. He's always been trash. I know some people are going to jump to that. I don't think that's the case with him, but I think that's just kind of, it's going to happen in this offense. When you're this predictable, you're going to throw some interceptions. And that's not necessarily 100% on the fault of just who's at quarterback. I think that's a lot to do with who's putting together the offense. I just want to see individual things, right, from this team get better, because what is positive about the offense is that we feel better about Quincy, is that we feel better about Harold Faden, right? Isaiah Bond should not be our number 2 wide receiver. And when he wasn't our number 2 wide receiver, we were feeling pretty good about Isaiah Bond, right? So That's what I'm hoping that we get. Is like, hey, whatever happens, who's ever running the offense next year, that they look at this at the end of this season and say, hey, these young guys, I can do something with this. Jamari Thrash, I can do something with him, right? Hell Faden, I can do something. Isaiah Bond, that they're not just going to become lost causes, right? And just be shipped out somewhere, right? Because they're not the guys of the last regime, or I don't even think it's going to be a new regime, just the last head coach, right? So you got to do something in the offseason. We all kind of know what that's going to be, but you want to see better individual efforts and individual performances, even when, yeah, I get it, it sucks, right? But just work on some small things that you can fix right now and get better at those things. Like if you're Hell Fader, just don't drop these balls, right? Like just work on that, like that doesn't require the offense to be structured amazingly. It just requires you to catch the football, just seeing these young guys take care of the things that they can control and get better at that. That will be the best case scenario for me for this offense, because I just have no hope that the structural problems with this are going to change until you make some bigger moves, and that requires an offseason.
No, and that I understand. And honestly, I think kind of building off that, I think it's just focusing on fundamentals. And it honestly, and what I'm going to say is sounds a lot like what they talk about when it comes to like Mike Vrabel led teams too, but it's solid fundamentals, making sure that you're doing what you can do in your power. Again, you can't really affect the other stuff. And when it comes to the bigger side, the larger sides of the offense, but you can handle what you can do. Your role is in the offense, everything like that. Like you said, catching the ball, having the good fundamentals on catching and everything like that. And even when it comes to staying disciplined, I think what actually one of the positives that I had from this past Sunday was the lack of major penalties on the offensive side. And again, I mean, go figure, it's me that's saying this, but shout out Cam Robinson, for not having any having any major penalties. Yeah,
no, the offensive line was actually not bad this week.
Right. Again, positive, like small positives, but again, it's having those guys together and having, again, the most veteran offensive line that we've had all season. When you have Cam Robinson hold his own, as well as the rest of the offensive line, for the most part, holding their own out there. But, the other thing, too, that I also, at least when it comes to a positive, that I want to mention as well, is a guy who was brought in after the roster cut down, but Malachi Corley. Like, I thought that, he is finally the guy that I think Kevin Stefanski's been looking for in terms of a gadget player. Where
he's finally found his end around guy.
Yes. Tried it with Elijah Moore, tried it with Kadarius Toney, but finally got it with Malachi Corley. But no, like and it's finding those like little wins, throughout the season, especially. But I think especially like with the way that the young players have come through this season, I think that and we talked about it before the year. Like, look, a record can look bad, but you can still have positives that come through. And it's how you look in those losses that really can stand out and really kind of give a team hope. And so, I think with where they're at, especially, and kind of seeing how the season's played along, I want to see how Dylan comes out of the bye, especially going against a Jets team that, look, let's be honest, could be very different by the time that we reach that game because of the trade deadline that's going to be coming up, and the fact that they also have a bye. They could go ahead and have massive roster shakeups. But I do think that at the heart of it, like you said, I do think it's going to take an offseason to really affect a lot of the changes, especially, when, and let's just be honest about it, you have an aging offensive line. You have Jack Conklin that's in his 30s. You have, Wyatt Teller that's entering his 30s. Same thing with Posich. And, of course, Joel Bitonio, we don't know if he's going to retire after the year, but obviously he was contemplating it after last season. So, that's something that you have to weigh. And then, hell, you got Cam Robinson for a pick swap. Who knows if he plays well enough to, maybe be under consideration, be brought back for, even if you draft somebody in the offseason, like
You
maybe
also
he's
got
somebody.
DeJuan Jones, who had the season-ending injury. It's his second season-ending injury in a row, right? So you just got a lot of, I mean, like, I think some bad breaks here, right? Like, I think Cedric
For sure.
Tillman getting hurt and that, but we'll see what happens going forward. Mac, we're unfortunately we're out of time. Always a pleasure having you on. Make sure you check them out. 92.3 The Fan. Afternoon drive, right?
Yeah, afternoon drive 2 to 7 on 923 The Fan. Also now streaming on YouTube as well, so you guys can go ahead and check it out on the 923 The Fan YouTube channel.
You guys are coming for me, huh? It's competition now, huh? Oh, I can't have Mac on anymore. I'm sorry.
competition.
Yeah, competition on YouTube. That's a funny concept. But y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.